Ever taste jam made from blueberries that you've picked yourself? Today I'm harvesting blueberries straight from the garden and making a super simple, quick freezer jam. There's no fancy equipment, there's no canning, just a super simple, fast recipe that lets your homegrown berries shine. And the best part, it takes less than 30 minutes. If you've never made jam before, this is the place to start. Let's get picking. Okay, so we are harvesting blueberries today. We're probably near the end of the harvest for me. I have two blueberry bushes. I forget the names. I forget the varieties that I have. But regardless, this one tends to produce fewer but larger berries, whereas the other one has a huge amount of berries, but they're typically a little bit smaller. So when you're picking blueberries, you want to look for blueberries that are fully blue. They have no red, no green. Obviously, these are not ready. This one has a little bit of red still on it, so I'm not going to touch that one. This one is blue, and if you twist it, it comes easily off the plant. So it's super, super easy. You just have to, keep an eye, really look at the color. And you want something that's blue all around, doesn't have red, doesn't have green. If it's red or green, it's obviously green. If it's not, it hasn't started ripening yet. If there's still a little bit of red around it, it's not quite there. It'll be tart. So what you want is blue all around. So I'm going to go around both of these blueberry bushes, gather as much as I can, and I'll meet you back in the kitchen, and we're going to make jam. Check this out, you guys. I just spotted a little friend, and I cover my blueberries with a mesh. Pan over so you can see. They're like giant bags with a drawstring at the bottom, so I cover them. And I noticed some little black. It's frass, obviously, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. That's who's making the mess of my blueberries. Still sleeping. We'll let him be. Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are making jam. We're making freezer jam, which is easier than making canned jam. The reason why I like freezer jam is one, it's ready in 30 minutes. You can't beat that. It's it's not cooked, right? So it's created cold, it's stored cold. That helps it retain the color and the flavor of a fresh fruit. I'm doing it with blueberries today, but I've made it very often with strawberries, and that fresh strawberry, summer strawberry flavor is retained in the jam. It's a little bit different when you can it or when you cook it. The color changes a little bit, the flavor changes a little bit. They're both good. They both have their uses, but I prefer keeping the fresh flavor of the summer fruit in my jam. And it's super easy to store. You can keep it once we're done. I'm gonna put it in these little freezer safe containers. They're plastic. You can find these at like Walmart or I think Amazon sells them too. But if you're going to be eating it right away, you can store it in the fridge for up to 6 weeks. You can store it in the freezer for up to a year. And it's amazing to be in the middle of December, to pull out a jar of jam, and it just tastes like the summer freshness. Awesome. And it's super simple. All you need is 4 cups of prepared fruit. When I say prepared, it means we're going to chop them up a little bit, but it's not 4 cups of the whole fruit. It's 4 cups of the prepared. But since we're using blueberries, like they're pretty much the size that they're going to be when we put them in the jam. So you need the fruit, you need sugar, you need our trusty Clubhouse no-cook freezer jam mix and containers, and that's it. So if this is the first time that you're making jam, this is a great place to start because it's super easy, and you're going to get it in 30 minutes. Like once we're done, there's a lot of mixing and waiting, but no more than 30 minutes of it. And once you're done that mixture, you can eat it right away, or you can store it in the freezer. Super easy. So let's get started, and I'll keep talking. So I've got my 4 cups of fruit, and normally with strawberries, I'll put them out on a cutting board, get a knife, and just give them a rough chop. But for blueberries, I figured they would roll all over the place. So what I'm going to do, and I've got probably three quarters of it is our berries that I picked this morning. Look, so amazing. And then I topped up with one little pint of local berries, just to make sure that I got to that 4 cup. And then I'm actually going to crush them with my little pastry dough masher. And I tried to get as many of the stems out as possible, but eating a little blueberry stem never hurt anybody. So let's get going. And I'm just going to do it, gently, just to break up the fruit a little bit and to release the juice, release the flavors. And I've got all kinds of sizes of berries in here, but it's all good. And this is not an exact science. It's just giving it a rough chop. And then once we do this part, we're adding the sugar, and then we're going to wait for 15 minutes while that not percolates, but stews a little bit. Let me see. I'm looking mainly for the larger ones to make sure I slice them. Not that it matters, it's still going to taste good. I mean, I've made this jam with peaches, I've made it with plums, I've made it with raspberries, blueberries, strawberries. I think that's pretty much it in terms of the slicing up. Just get this out of there. Did I get all the big ones? I think so. All right. Good enough. I'm going to keep this because we're going to need this to stir. This goes in here. There's another stem. All right, give me a couple minutes just to rinse my hands off. Okay, 1.5 cups sugar. The other difference between freezer jam and canned jam is it typically requires less sugar. It's a little bit of a thinner jam, a little bit runnier, so it's 1.5. This is a 1/2 cup measure. I'm going to do 3 of these. So a canned jam, typically it requires more sugar so that it gels up a little firmer. That's 2. So the freezer jam is typically a little runnier. But if you're just going to use it for whether it's for drizzling it in yogurt, you can put it on toast. Get that out of the way. Now I'm just going to stir this so it's all mixed up. But it's still delicious. Put it on muffins, put it on scones. I like to add like a little spoon. Whoops, I don't know my berries. I like to add it to a little bit of Greek yogurt, just to add a little bit of sweetness. So now I'm just mixing everything up so that the sugar is well mixed with the fruit, which it looks to be. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of like a mushy mixture. And the liquid of the blueberries with the sugar, it's kind of like, now it's got this amazing purple color. Beautiful. Okay. At this point, we wait for 15 minutes. I'm going to pause here. I'm not going to make you wait 15 minutes with me. I'll pause here, and then we'll come back and do the next part, which is adding in our no-cook freezer jam, in case you wanted to get a shot of that. And you can buy this anywhere. It's very popular. You can buy it at Walmart, at your grocery store. And it'll typically say no-cook freezer jam on it, different brands. I've always used the Clubhouse one because it's super easy and I can find it fairly easily. But let's pause there and I'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, we're back. We're at just about 15 minutes. And I don't know if I finished my thought earlier of the difference between the canning and the freezer jam, whereas the canning requires a little bit more sugar for preservative purposes because it has to be shelf stable. And that's another reason why I like freezer jam, because it just uses less sugar. So we're about 15 minutes in, and you can see that it's, oh, look at this. Isn't that a nice color? Oh, so nice. Okay, the next step is we are adding our little mixture here. And then we're just gonna stir this in slowly, a little bit at a time, over the course of 3 minutes. So let's get going. And I usually I pour a bit and then I just mix it up. Careful not to move it too much so that the powder doesn't fly up in my face. I love the freezer jam just because it's so fast. You get it in half an hour. Like if one of your recipes, or if you're looking to add something, and I usually have these things on hand. I buy a bunch of them and then just pick away at them over the course of the summer, and then it's just handy. Like you can whip up a batch of jam, whether it's you want to serve it with muffins or scones or whatever, or those cookies with the little jam in the center. Like this is perfect for that. If you don't have, shelf stable or store-bought jam on hand, I usually get a bunch of these at the beginning of the season, knowing that I'm going to be making jam as the fruit of the season starts coming in. And just if you don't grow blueberries or it doesn't matter. Just you can buy them fresh, buy them when they're in season. You can also use frozen. Thaw it before you make the jam, so that they're not frozen. But you can absolutely use frozen fruit for this too. But you want to get fruit that's at its peak. Frozen fruit is picked at its peak flavor and nutrition, so it's a good option for this. Or when you go to one of those you pick places to pick your own berries, that's an excellent option for this, because the fruit, like, you can't get any fresher than that, right? I'm almost done. One more. And because there's no stove involved, this is probably a good option if you wanted to make something with kids. Other than preparing the fruit and cutting the fruit at the beginning, the rest is just stirring. Right? It's super easy. All right. Close this without it blowing in my face. So we are at the point where we're stirring for 30 minutes with the gelling powder. After this, we're going to let it stand for 5, stir it, and then pour it into jars. Super easy. Let me just get this in here. It also makes a great gift. Like, who wouldn't want to receive a little jar of homemade jam? So good. Okay, so this is in there. I'm going to pause again. There's a lot of waiting in this one. I'm going to pause again and wait for 5 minutes. I'll put 5 minutes on my timer. And then I'll be back for the the big finale. Okay, it's been 3 minutes. So now all we have to do is give it a gentle stir for about a minute. You can see how it's so much thicker than it was. And then we're going to pour it into our jars. And it's really just to make sure it's all combined. Such a nice color. I make a Christmas version of this with strawberries, cranberries, orange, and some cinnamon. It's so good. But I only make it at Christmas. So for that one, I use frozen strawberries. Cranberries are typically available at that time of year, and oranges are too. But I do get frozen strawberries for that. All right, that is stirred, and it's delicious. All right, and I think the recipe calls for 4. Sometimes there's extra, so I have a 5th one here. But we're gonna get going, and I'm gonna do it over the bowl so I don't make a mess. All right, it looks so good. and leave a little bit of room at the top, especially if you're going to be freezing any, just so that it has room to expand. So let's start with that, and then I'll keep going. It's the easiest thing in the world. One of the, well, another benefit is that canning, it's a process, right? Like you need equipment, you need, it's not a 30-minute task. There's a lot more effort that goes into it. But if you want something, if you don't have a lot of freezer room, or you just want something that's going to be to store in your pantry or whatnot, whoops, then canning is the way to go. Or if you want a jam, don't mind the cat. All right, we're back. Or if you want something that's a little bit thicker, like if you're looking for a jam for, PB&J sandwiches, this might be a little bit runny. So pros and cons to each one. I like the freezer one because it's so easy, and it tastes more like the fruit than if you were cooking it as part of the canning process. But to each their own. There is room for both in everybody's lives. And I like making my own jam. You know exactly what's in it. That thought, or that belief, is becoming more and more popular as people care about what's in their food and like how it's grown and what's in it. So at least this gives you a little bit more control over that. Yeah, I think I'm going to have some extra going into a 5th jar. Let's see. Yeah, just a bit. So this one will probably just go in the fridge. We'll eat this later. And the rest go in the freezer. You can see how thick it is. All right, hold on now. We gotta get all of this out of here. We're not wasting any of it. Okay. And it goes. Okay. I got my spoon. This is going to be my taster spoon, but it's also going to help me get everything else off of this spoon here. Actually, I'll leave that in there. Okay, let's taste it. All right. So I think I brought a damp paper towel just to make sure. I actually didn't make that big of a mess this time. Probably because you were watching. Just a little bit. Okay. All right. Let me just close these. So I've left, like a little bit of space just so that there's no jam in the treads of the jar lid. Because when I do put it in the freezer, it will expand just a little bit. If you're putting it in the fridge, it's not as much of a concern. But if you are planning on freezing it, I made a mess on this one. Okay. It's important to give it some clearance. All right. Let's give it a try. I could just eat it out of the jar like this. This could be my snack for the morning. See? Tastes like blueberries. Blueberries that are picked. It's that fresh fruit, which I love. So I am going to put this in the fridge, this in the freezer, and this is going to last us quite a while. Because we typically don't eat a lot of jam, like on toast or things like that. We add it to yogurt and, very sparingly use it in very sparing ways. So this is going to last us, I don't know, a few months at least. And then just to remind, in the freezer, it'll last up to a year. In the fridge, it'll last up to 6 weeks, so eat it before then. And that's the easy, simple freezer jam recipe. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe so you can get more garden to table recipes. I'd love to hear any jam combinations that you've tried, that you've enjoyed. just to give us all some new ideas and inspiration. And if this is your first time making jam, highly encourage you to give this one a try, because it's so simple. And if you can chop fruit and stir, you've got it. That's all you need. It's super simple. As always, happy gardening, everybody. Thanks for joining me.